Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking here about scarcity, unlimited wants and needs, dealing with limited resources. Our end goal here, of course, is societal and individual happiness, wealth, and satisfaction. And we know that rule number three says every choice has a cost. And this is what we're going to be focusing on right now is the idea of a cost. Let's start by looking at an example of what is probably one of the most important costs in all of economics, and that is the opportunity cost. Question: what is the cost of protecting the environment? Things like climate change and environmentalism. Well, a common answer you will often get is millions in government funding to help combat climate change and help the environment, or higher prices on trash and pollution and that kind of thing, and gas prices. And these are actually costs, but they are known as explicit costs. No, we're looking for something different. Okay. And one thing we're not looking for is this. Like if somebody's like, well, it doesn't cost me anything. I don't pay anything for climate change, or I don't pay anything for the environment. My actions are free. I have free will. And in economics, of course, we already know there is no such thing as free. Milton Friedman tapped that sign. Yes, there is no such thing as a free lunch, says famous economist Milton Friedman. Now, in economics, we have a saying, and that is there are no solutions, only trade offs. Remember, you cannot solve scarcity. You will simply transfer it from one place to another or make a different type of scarcity. No, instead, what we're dealing with here in economics is a trade off. If I choose door A, that means I can't walk through door B. When you make a choice, you sacrifice something when you make a choice. That is also considered a cost. And what we want to do is we want to focus on that idea of what you gave up when you made a choice. So when we're talking about the environment, some people say don't use your dryer, simply hang your clothes. There's no cost to that. Yeah, the cost is that it's going to take longer to dry, and maybe there's going to be pollen that gets into my clothes. So there is a cost. Oh, just walk, bike, take public transit. A lot of those things are free. You can get a bike or you can walk somewhere and you don't have to worry about it. And the thing is, well, yeah, there is a cost. It actually can take longer for me to get to where I need to go. Okay, buy electric car. It's better overall. It will actually save you money. There isn't a cost. Well, except that charging electric cars takes longer and the battery life is shorter. So there are costs of that. Grow your own food. There's no cost to that. You can get out there. Buying seed is very cheap. Land is available in people's backyards. Yeah, but how about I'd like somebody else to grow my food? And that way, there's a cost of me taking my time and energy to grow my own food really inefficiently in comparison. Eat less meat. Yeah, but what if I like meat? What if I like a fat, sizzling prime rib? That's delicious. That is a cost. You should recycle and use less plastic. Okay, I should probably recycle, except there's a cost to that. It uses more energy to recycle. Plastic is fairly cheap and inexpensive to make. You should travel less. Okay, well, then I won't get exposures to other cultures, other sites, other people, other ideas. And traveling less has a cost. Oh, buy more from environmentally friendly companies. Okay, but what if they're more expensive? What if they're environmentally friendly, but they're not racially friendly, or they're not gender-based friendly, or LGBTQ friendly? I mean, there are costs to dealing with specifically environmentally friendly companies, and of course, speak out more about climate advocacy. Okay, well, what if I want to stay home and watch television? That's a cost if I go out and speak out more. If I have to take my energy into one way, it means I can't use my energy into doing something else. The point is, there are costs to every choice we make, and it doesn't actually have to be monetary. Now, the idea of an opportunity cost is simply put the cost of a choice. Okay, it is will you or did you give up when you made a decision. It is the value of the next best alternative. Notice, by the way, it's not what you could have given up, because when you make a choice, you have a million different options of what you could do. You could decide to come to school one day, or you can decide to do a million different things instead. But in economics, what we really care about is the choice you didn't choose. What was your next best alternative, and what was the value of that? This is one of the most important ideas in economics, because then we start getting the true value of what you sacrificed when you made a decision. Okay, because remember, every choice has a cost. Okay, so you have a decision to make between A and B. Those are my two alternatives. There's only two ways to go here, A or B. So the choice you make, that's the decision you choose, either A or B. Let's say I choose A. Okay, that's my choice. B is going to be the opportunity cost. And the opportunity cost is the value of your second choice. What didn't you do? Not what could you have done, but what would you have done? And this is can be hard to measure sometimes, and it also can be easy to measure. If you come to my class for 90 minutes, what was your opportunity cost? Well, if it's in the morning, usually you'll say, well, I can't get 90 minutes of sleep. That's an example of an opportunity cost. So an opportunity cost is the value of your next best alternative you didn't select, meaning the value of your second choice, what you would have done when you started to make a decision. Climate change, good example. I have $40 million. Here are the 10 biggest impacts to climate change: children, fossil fuels, transportation, construction, meat, burning wood and agriculture, producing metal and concrete, deforestation, gas flaring, and trash. I'm a government. I have $40 million. So I want to look at this and I want to decide, where do I want to put that $40 million to make the biggest impacts to climate change? Okay. Well, you might say, well, children, because that's at the top of the list, except cost benefit analysis actually, while people are the number one drivers and impactors of climate change, for every child you don't have, and actually the cost can be really high because they can be the next potential inventor of something that actually helps benefit climate change. All right, well then let's do something else. How about I'm going to put $40 million towards fossil fuels, and I can get a measurement of what $40 million can do in terms of uh, going over to alternative energy, helping create new power grids and that kind of thing. The thing is that, okay, fine, that costs $40 million, but understand that that means I can't spend $40 million on the other nine things that impact climate change as well. And this is like what we're really looking at here. And in fact, we need to narrow it down to what would I have done with the $40 million if I didn't put it towards fossil fuels? Okay. And in this case, my opportunity cost would be deforestation. So if because I spent $40 million on fossil fuels, I cannot spend that $40 million on deforestation because I've already used it up here. And so, what that $40 million could have done for deforestation is my opportunity cost. Notice I could have put it on anything, but I would have put it, if I didn't put it towards fossil fuels, towards deforestation, at my second best alternative. So I can kind of gauge what that would do. What would $40 million do to fossil fuel generation versus fighting deforestation? Okay. Now, some other examples: should I go to school or go to my second choice? That second choice would be your opportunity class cost. If I own a business and I have a food truck, do I park it in front of the high school at 1000 Low Gap Road, or my second choice? My second choice would have been an opportunity cost. Should I focus on, when I have my business, on online sales or whatever my second choice is? That's my opportunity cost. If I'm the US government, should I give more money to Ukraine or my second choice? And that is your opportunity cost. Okay. Now, when you go to countries, countries have to do this too. Countries actually have to make a decision about what they're going to do with their land, labor, and physical capital. Okay. Are they going to make things that are related to the military, or are they going to make things related to civilian goods? This is a decision a country makes called the guns and butter situation. So I have land, labor, capital. I'm going to make goods and services for people to consume. Should I make military goods or services, or should I make civilian goods or services? So, guns is the military goods or services, butter is civilian goods or services. And so every country has to take all of their resources and kind of decide, where should I put a majority of these things? And people often kind of misinterpret like how much actually goes into the military versus how much goes into civilian goods. But it is an essential question. Should scarce resources go towards guns or butter? Because all resources, land, labor, and capital, are in fact scarce. And then, even getting it deeper, what amount of scarce resources should be going into guns, and what amount of scarce resources should be going into butter? Because remember, if you put, let's just say you have 10 resources, land, labor, and capital. If you put 9 into butter, that means the opportunity cost is you can only put 1 into guns. If you put 7 into butter, that means you can only make 3 guns. And you might say, well, we don't want to make any butter. Well, except then your country really is miserable because you don't have any civilian goods or services. Then other people will be like, well, you don't want to make any guns. Okay, well, then you get invaded by the moose from Canada and you don't have much of a country because you can't defend it from anybody. So it's a measure of, okay, how much stuff should I produce for military versus civilian goods? In the United States, people often think, "Oh, we have a giant military," and the answer is we do have a giant military. We spend more money than the next 26 countries combined, but we also have a massive economy. You're going to learn this term, gross domestic product, GDP. It is the total monetary value of everything we produce in a country, and it's how we measure economic well-being is what is the overall monetary value of everything you produce in a country. And when we look at the US's guns or butter in terms of opportunity cost, this is where the US guns or butter is. So this is the percentage of gross domestic product that's used to make military, meaning that's the percentage of everything we produce with land, labor, and capital. What percentage of everything we produce is military oriented? And the answer is around 3% of everything we produce in this country is about the military. That means 97% of everything we produce is civilian related goods. And it makes sense when you look around. It's not like you see military stuff everywhere. You see shirts, you see pants, you see radios, you see bubble gum, you see all kinds of different things not really military related. Right? Even back in World War II, at its height, we were almost 40% of everything in our GDP, our land, labor, capital was put towards the military. And of course, that meant that only around 60% was civilian goods because everybody was dealing with the war. Okay, so remember, opportunity cost is the value of your best alternative you didn't select, meaning your second choice. That way, we can kind of measure how valuable your decision actually was.